Okay, so tonight obviously we are going to be filming specially this 747-400 freighter with CargoLogic, registration Golf Charlie Lima Alpha Alpha. They have 3 in their fleet, 2 747-400s and a 747-8. I can give you you guys the actual operating registrations on those. 2 747-400s, Alpha Alpha and Bravo Alpha, and the 747-8F, which operates out of London Heathrow on the big routes there, is Alpha Bravo. Call sign Firebird. Very interesting. Obviously, a lot of you guys are probably heading out on Wikipedia right now, as well as your Google fanatics, finding out all your information on CargoLogic. I found this one last night, Johnny. Firebird. What a fantastic call sign. Can you just give us this is Matt from CargoLogic, guys. Say hello to Matt. Matt,
everybody.
Just give us a little information that you had on that 747 over there.
The 747-400 freighter over on the north side. It's the Dubai Air Wing, so it's the Dubai Royal Flights 400 freighter that's used specifically for moving the horses and the personal cars of the Dubai Royal family. Comes in on a regular basis because of the horse trading up the road, up the M11 in Cambridge and Newmarket.
How the other half live, eh? And apparently they carry 2 very special personnel on board, is that right?
Rumour has it that they've got 2 people on there that are specifically on board just to polish the chrome on the engine cowlings and the leading edges. Wow. So cloths and auto glim for a living. There you go,
there you go. What a way to live, eh? Just a little bit more information on these guys at CargoLogic. This is obviously their main hub here at London Stansted, STNEGSS as it's otherwise known. Although obviously CargoLogic have offices down at London Heathrow as well for their operation down there. Again, fleet size, 3 aircraft on the CargoLogic side, and of course CargoLogic are linked in with the guys at Volga Dnepr. This particular aircraft, CLAA, she was originally with Japan Airlines. First flew on the 8th of October 2004. So she's not that old, she's only 13 years old, she's a youngster. She was originally designated JA402 Juliet. One of our followers, Samantha Lasoma, says that most of the lab companies we use ship through CargoLogic's planes.
Yeah, we CargoLogicAir carry a lot of pharmaceuticals for various companies out of the area. There's a lot of pharmaceutical research in this area, and as Frankfurt, Germany, a lot of materials we carry on our aeroplane for pharma.
Fantastic. And on this one coming in tonight, what are we looking at in terms of its cargo?
Console loads, lots of different shippers, freight forwarders are all going to have stuff on the aeroplane. So we may have pharma on board. There's going to be textiles probably from the Far East because the network connections with our other aeroplanes. So there'll be stuff coming in on from Moscow, from the Far East flights into Moscow through Europe. I believe we're going to be carrying relief goods for South America. Obviously going into Mexico is a convenient place to bring goods into and then truck them down from there. All kinds of things we could have on there. Aircraft engines might be on there. There's car parts, manufacturing goods, all kinds of stuff for the South American market.
Okay, and this is obviously regular flights. How many flights are you doing out of here a week?
We're currently on 2 flights a week, bringing freight in from Middle East up through Frankfurt into Stansted to connect freight in with other parts of the network, and then taking them on through Atlanta onto South America, Mexico City, and then we come back through Houston to complete the rotation back down to the Middle East with the oil equipment and materials for the oil drilling for the oil industry.
Wow! So you say oil industry, that's some pretty heavy equipment you got going on board there.
Yep, yeah. Houston's main focus, obviously, for the States with their the oil industry out there, and there's a close link between the materials manufacturers in in America, in Texas, and with the oil companies down in the Middle East. So yeah, big, outsized, heavy, long pieces. We have extended ground times in Houston a lot of the time because it's all pretty ugly stuff that comes out of there. It's not the regular size boxes that you're going to see out of Stansted on the loads.
Yeah,
today.
so sometimes you might have a whole aircraft dedicated to one specific client for heavy movement.
Yeah, so depending on the load, the customer's requirements, sometimes we can have very heavy, dense loads. So we will get to weight limitations before we get to volume limitations. So yes, some customers will come in with a heavy piece. Current inquiry for a 27-ton single piece. It's only small to go onto the aeroplane, but it reduces the capacity. If we were taking a volume load out of the Far East, then the same weight could take up 6 times as much space on the aeroplane.
Wow.
So all depends on what the customer wants to move. The 747 has the capability to do it. Flight out to Atlanta, it's going to take a lot of fuel load, so we'll probably find ourselves waiting on fuel in company of a preload fuel. The crew will already have the flight plans. Our ops team will have set up the flight plan. They'll have a rough idea of what fuel is required, so we'll preload to that, and then when the crew come in and they check the specifics, they get the final say on the fuel, whether they want any extra for weather, for holding, and they will advise that when they get to the airplane. So when the crew normally turn up an hour before departure, we hope to have the majority of fuel on.
Watch the 747 come in. How long is it, Jerry?
Well, I reckon she's about 30 minutes out. We've got any updates on that, guys? Let me just scroll down to the bottom of the comments here. So Damo's giving us 7,400 feet, turning away from Frankfurt now. John Carley giving us an update. CargoLogic due in 47 minutes.
Ground power unit, GPU, but this one here is an FEP, fixed electrical power, so you can see the crocodile snakes out. So these are the electrical power provided by the airport as a green option to use in the diesel generators, the hoochins that you normally see revving up next to the airplane. So these are much better for the environment, so an FEP, fixed electrical power.
Right.
So he's currently plugged in 2 leads into there. The 2 leads are required by the aircraft, one to power the aircraft systems and one to power the loading system on the aircraft. So the normal aircraft, your 737 will only have one. When you have a A380, they require 2 as well, just the size of the aircraft and the power that they need.
Right.
The guys here that you can see going around at a minute are engineering team, maintenance team here at Stansted. So they're currently inspecting the aircraft for its arrival check. They're looking for any damage to the pitot heads, any damage to the skin, debris in the undercarriage. He's now checking for tears in the tyres to make sure that the tyres haven't got any bald spots. There, you can see over the other side, one of the engineers is under the wings at the moment. He's checking the engines for bird strikes, missing fan blades. Gentleman just here under the wing, under the fuselage, is the loadmaster. He's checking the door seals to make sure that at the previous stop they've not bashed the door and departed the aircraft without it. So he'll have done an inspection here, so he now knows that the doors are in a good condition. So any damage that might occur here that he spotted later, we can confirm that it was done here, not at Frankfurt.
Yes, exactly, right. Okay.
So as you see, the engineer here, he's looking right the way down in the wing route. He's looking for any signs of damage, any cracks, or there's debris gone down the intakes for the vents.
Wow.
So here we've got 2 guys on the team at the moment doing the inspection. Depending on where you go and what your staffing levels are, if you're flying on a remote location, when we go out on a charter, what would happen? The aircraft would pull up on the stand. The engineer that we take with us, he'd come down and he would inspect the entire aeroplane on his own. But obviously here we have a based maintenance team, and they can put a few people out to look after it. When the aircraft came up on the stand, obviously the guys have chopped the aeroplane. Before they do any work on the aircraft, the chocks go in, the cones go in at the extremities of the aeroplane, and that creates our safe zone on the aircraft, so nobody can move any vehicles inside those cones except for the fuel truck when the fuel truck comes up later. And then those cones will remain there to make sure somebody doesn't drive into the engine or drive any tool equipment underneath the wingtips.
Right, yeah.
And then the loading team that you can see walking around in the red trousers, they're Swiss water handling agent. So what they're doing at the moment down the back, they've got a set of steps, and they're going and using the electrical controls to open the cargo doors so that they're ready for the loading equipment to come up to the aircraft.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Brilliant.
Wow, look at that, checking those fan blades, Johnny.
Yeah. So you go to number, is it number 1 on the right hand side engine?
No, it starts from, we've got 1, 2, 3 and 4.
Left
Starts
to right.
from the captain's left hand side when he's sitting in his seat. So
Right.
number 1 is over on our right as we're looking at it.
So far port engine is the number 1.
Is the number 1.
Yeah.
So everything's always counted or directed from captain's position on the airplane. So the
Okay.
L1 door is the door on the front on the left.
So now what's going to happen with the crew now then, Matt?
So because we're on a short turnaround here, what happens is the outbound crew are probably in the office at the moment, or will be getting in the crew bus at the office, and they will be coming out to the aircraft clearing security. The crew upstairs are now doing their debrief and packing up, and they'll be getting down off the aeroplane. You can just see just to the right, the fuel truck's just arrived. So here at Stansted we've got fuel hydrant capability here. So the fuel is stored on the other side of the airfield and it's pumped underground, and under the wings there's hydrants in the floor. So these pump trucks just turn up and they connect like a fire truck.
Yes.
Pump into the floor hydrant, connect it to the aircraft, and then they pump directly through. So you won't see a fuel tanker underneath the wing like you do
like
at
the
some
old
airports.
days. Yeah.
But depending on the size of the airport, fuel hydrants aren't always economically viable. So in Frankfurt, you don't have fuel hydrants because it's a massive, expansive ramp. And
Okay, yes.
You're better to have the big fuel trucks. Same with Amsterdam. Amsterdam is mostly fuel trucks as well.
Oh, I see.
But here at
Okay,
Stansted, it's a smaller operation, and they've invested the money in the fuel hydrants.
Right, yeah.
So that's one of the reasons why you have to have the markings for the aircraft when it comes up to park, and they have to follow the safe dock system. Up here, if they don't park in the right place, the fuel hydrant is not going to be underneath the wing, so then you can't fuel the airplane.
Yeah, so he has to be more or less like a couple of feet either side of the centre line.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
So yeah, we've got some other aircraft services just turning up. There's our potable water and toilet service, got a honey cart.
Rightio, there you go, Johnny.
So that'll have to come up onto the aeroplane to make sure, because the aircraft's going over to Atlanta, it's got a long flight, we make sure that the aircraft's clean and watered. The guys have got fresh potable water on the aircraft.
Yes.
Bathrooms are clean, so that's who's turning up now. So the servicing plan for the aircraft is designed by Boeing. They have the optimum position for all of your equipment. So when you have a full service on the airplane, including fuel, toilet service, water service, loaders, high loaders onto the airplane, every single piece of equipment can access the airplane and not be obstructed by another. So the fuel truck, toilet truck always accesses from the left side of the aircraft, because if he went on the right side of the aircraft, you wouldn't be able to get to the forward cargo door. It's all planned. There is a set position where each of these items.
So the layout, the design layout of Boeing is such that everything can run efficiently
all at
without.
the same time.
Yeah, exactly right. Okay, wow, fantastic.
When you connect the tow bar to the aircraft, or if anybody is upstairs on the aircraft, you don't want any movement on the controls upstairs moving the gear down here, because we could be standing here and if somebody knocks the steering upstairs, the gear's going to move. The fuel carried, it has a different trim effect on a longer flight because you have more fuel in the wing. So what we try to do, and the experience of the guys in Frankfurt, they already look at what it's doing for the next flight, and they will make sure that they're at least assisting us with how they're loading so that when it gets here we don't have to make too many changes. Weight-wise, when you're loading in the lower decks, you can put 5,000 kilos of weight, 5 tons, on one pallet, and in the forward hold on this you can carry 5 pallets at 25 tons.
She's looking good for a 13-year-old aircraft.
Yep, yeah, still looked after very well with in a company where we treated our maintenance team to look after it. The undercarriage on the 7.4, you see the main wheelbase where they're going to retract into the wheelbase. The engineers have been round it, and you can probably feel it from here. You can still feel the brakes. That's the brakes are still hot on here.
Yeah.
Everything all recorded in here to make sure that any issues with the aeroplane that the crew have encountered is registered and handed over to the engineers and then onwards to the crew. So you've always got that transfer of information.
Yes.
Trucks on at the moment, they're fueling up. We've got a couple of good fuel trucks here, so we've got 2 hoses to fuel, so they'll be going in a little bit faster.
Right.
Depending on how much fuel load you've got on and the capability of the service provider, sometimes they'll send out 2 trucks and you can put 1 truck under each wing and pump from both sides.
Wow.
To fill up each wing. So the guys are going to fill up here, and they've got the fueling control panel up the top, so they're the engineer who was just on his a little while ago, he'll be pre-selecting the total fuel to go on, and then he'll be selecting what fuel into each tanks.
Okay, so here we go, Johnny, on board a 747 freighter.
So yeah, the freight door, the side cargo door on the aircraft opens up to a canopy position, so it pulls up to 90 degrees to the floor and gives us a clear door opening of 3 metres in height. We can carry aircraft engines which are slightly taller, helicopters with the rotor mast in the middle, or the blowout preventers we were talking about earlier. So when you go to helicopters, because you're trying to get a square box into a circular hole. The analogy is trying to get the ladder in your porch into the front door of your porch and go round into the hallway.
Yes, yeah.
So with a helicopter with a pointy centre, it's much easier to turn in, so they can get longer and longer into the when you load things into the aircraft. So when we have things like aircraft engines that are over 96 inches, that are over that height, you have to consider additional cargo in front. Now when you're flying in from Nairobi or places like that, fruit and veg, ideal crushable loads, brilliant stuff. But when you fly an engine on those flights, you've come into the UK to deliver your fruit and veg, but you're taking the engine to somewhere else in Europe, suddenly you've offloaded all your fruit and veg, you suddenly don't have any crushable load, then the load has to be restrained to 9G, 9 times its weight. So if you have a 10-ton engine on the aircraft or a 13-ton engine on the aircraft, you'll put in possibly 70, 80, 90 straps to restrain it, and you have to do it further up the back of the aeroplane to give you those restraint factors for the aircraft. Hi there. Hi there.
Guys, how are you doing?
Not too bad, you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Evening, gentlemen.
Fantastic. We won't disturb you too long, just getting annoying.
Veterans on the 747, or are you new to it, or...?
Pretty much been doing this most of my career.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Still loving it as much as it was the first time?
It doesn't stop.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic.
To hear that.
That is good to hear. That is good to hear, yeah.
So you guys are just operating over to Atlanta?
Yep. Up to Atlanta, a couple of days in Atlanta, down to Mexico City, up to Houston, and then round trip back to Frankfurt, and eventually end up back here. Fantastic.
Great.
So we're currently waiting for about 20 tonnes of fuel, 30 tonnes we were up to?
22 tonnes of fuel, and then just the loadmaster, and then we'll be getting out of here as quickly as possible.
So relatively quick turnaround.
Yeah, we're just trying to get it back on schedule.
So have you flown? Obviously, this is your trip out to Atlanta, but do you do the legs out to Moscow as well, or?
Yeah, we
Quite often.
Yeah, quite often.
Yeah.
It sounds to be considered like our second house, but it's
Fantastic.
fine. It's nice, yeah.
No, she's a lovely aircraft to fly. Yes, still 747-400. Doesn't get much better, does it? Really?
It doesn't.
No, she's lovely. Fantastic.
Also, it's nice.
Sorry?
The new one also actually.
Oh, the Dash 8's a beautiful aircraft, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, in terms of cockpit layout and so on and so forth, it's a beautiful aircraft.
It surely is.
Okay, so yeah, like we said, we've got 20 tonnes of fuel to go. As soon as the fuel's on, we're ready. So the guys are going to start their briefing now, and we'll leave them to it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks very
Have
much.
a good flight. Enjoy your flight. Looks like the ground crew have moved everything away. The chocks have, and we've got the tug is actually linked up, Johnny. So should we walk down? Let's do it. Watch yourself on this flat one, mate.
So everybody now is just waiting for the crew to give the final close the doors signal. To take everything off. James, the loadmaster, he's obviously finished up. Got all the paperwork, the flight paperwork to take off of the aeroplane. So there's a copy with the crew and a copy to stay off of the aircraft.
Right.
So that when he departs, we have a record of everything to do with either the technical status of the aeroplane or the loaded status of the aeroplane.
Fantastic.
Dangerous goods, weight and balance, persons on board, technical defect. From the aeroplane, it's obviously all a safety thing to
Just in
so
case
you're not trying to move big objects too fast in the aeroplane.
Yes.
They'll move it far enough back that the aircraft can clear off, or they can get another one of these little buggies to attach it, and then they'll drive it away.
So you're literally looking now at the at him. Here we go.
So he's going to give the signal from the captain. The captain said brakes off. The engineer tells the tug driver brakes off. So the crew have had their pushback clearance. Now the engine's going to go backwards because see the shock is under the wheel.
Shock's under the front wheel, mate.
It's stuck against the wheel. So
There we go. So he's going to pull it forward so he can release that shock. And now he's got all the chocks out of the way. Okay. Here we go for pushback.
now we're taking two guys out with us with a tug because it's a two-man job to take the tow bar off.
Roger that. So here we go.
So because the aircraft is now clear, I'm going to walk around with the tug driver, keep an eye, make sure everything's clear in the way out.
Anti-turn again.
The tug driver's having to work this with a double articulated pushback because it's articulated at the pin.
Yes.
And it's articulated at the nose.
Wow, yeah.
It's not like just backing up a trailer.
No, no. So that's double the amount of work that he's got to
Very
think of.
complicated to the
Yeah.
pushback wire.
So keep an eye on that number one spinner, JB. Here we go. Here we go. Okay.
So the engineer's now walking out, and you'll see he's got his gear pin in his hand with a
Yeah, the
ribbon.
engineer's got his gear pin out.
And then he's going to show that to the captain. When he clears the engine, you're going to see he's going to give a thumbs up. Here he goes. Gear pin is out.
Okay.
Captain will wave. So if you look at the flight deck, so the captain's now going to look. Flaps and slaps.
Doing a good job, man. Doing a good job. Keep us steady.